Hi, Max.
So the YouTube account has two-step verification.
Yep.
And it says to check your device, and the number is 41.
So we got 41, 7, and then 46. So which? So it's 41.
Yes.
Okay. Nope, hold on.
Well, I guess. Oh, I mean, next time, because Lonnie is here, if he's logged into his email, it's not like he could have done it also.
There we go. Okay. Oh, damn! It
There
said
we
the
go.
prompt expired.
Huh?
It said
Yep,
the prompt
we're in.
expired.
We're in.
You're in. Okay. Do you see me?
No, we're just logged into the YouTube, but we're going live from here, not from Zoom. I thought we could just get it. Maybe there's already connected. Start the meeting first. Once we start the meeting in Zoom, so it should be that. Yeah. So. Okay, we're gonna start the webinar.
Okay. So I was in the practice session. Okay. So,
There's a practice session also, or
yeah, I was doing the practice session. Okay. So what I will do is I will just get into the whole session. I'll just start the webinar.
okay.
So I'm
we're
gonna-
jumping into it also from here.
Okay. Yeah. Give me just a minute. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Wait.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Got it. We're in it. It's being live streamed officially onto YouTube.
Super.
It's in a practice session. So
Awesome. And I'm gonna plug in. I'm plugging in the camera microphones right now. Can you log into that session on your phone and make sure that we're getting audio through there?
Penny, can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you.
Okay. Can you text me the webinar link? Or wait, did you send it to me? I think you might have emailed it to me.
You should already have it, but I can send it to you again.
It's on the Zoom thing. Or well,
Yeah.
It's not.
Penny Okamoto.
Can I get past you real quick?
Do you have it?
Yes. Me.
Mr. Rainey seems.
Lunch meeting. Yep.
We get a side view here, Greg.
Oh. Great. You definitely got that, right, Max?
Yeah.
Going from the fact that you're feedback, I'm going to say that's a yes.
Yeah, I can hear it. Let me walk away and see. Okay, go again.
These are just the handheld mics that I'm testing here.
Yep, I got you.
Awesome. Let me make sure I get OBS virtual camera.
And just to double check, we're sure that's not coming in from your computer. That is coming in from the mics.
That is coming in from the mics. If I turn off the mics, then can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
You can.
I'll just start the webinar.
Says.
Okay, yeah, give me just a minute, okay?
Yep. Okay. Wait.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Great. So now if I turn.
We're in it. It's being live streamed officially onto YouTube. It's in a practice session. So.
And can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So you couldn't hear me before. That's when I turned off the mics.
You said something about it being live streamed onto YouTube, right?
I didn't say that.
It says.
Oh, I think that is the YouTube stream. Hang on.
Oh, so yeah, someone's in the
Yeah.
YouTube stream.
I can hear you.
Hey.
Great. So now if I. It's being live streamed.
Hang on. We need to.
I can hear you. Okay, great. So you couldn't hear me before. That's when I turned off the mic. About it being live streamed on YouTube. Right? I didn't say that.
I didn't. Okay. Whoa.
Okay, I
Yeah,
just
someone's
turned
connected
off.
to the YouTube stream.
YouTube stream. Hang on. Oh, so yeah, someone's in the YouTube stream. I can hear you. Okay. So now if I.
Hang on. Where is that coming from?
I can hear you. Okay, great. So you couldn't hear me before. That's when I turned off the mic. About it being live streamed.
Is that
I didn't say that.
I didn't. Okay. Whoa.
Okay, I
Yeah,
just
someone's
turned
connected
off
to the YouTube stream.
Because it's going back and forth. YouTube stream.
Yeah.
Is it maybe Penny's computer?
Possibly.
Where's that coming from?
Can you hear this? That you should be able to hear. And it's on YouTube. I turned off the volume on this computer. I think that's what was going on. So we're not getting that anymore, yeah?
We're getting something. Penny, can you mute yourself?
Can you guys hear me
1,
okay?
2, 3, 4.
Can you hear this? Now you
1,
should
2, 3, 4.
Penny, can you mute yourself?
on YouTube. I turned off the.
I don't hear it anymore.
Check 1, 2.
Yeah. Okay, Penny. Can you see if in another tab you have the YouTube stream open and are watching it, and that's causing the feedback? There we go.
Okay. So now we should be getting a video feed. And audio. So we have video and audio now, correct? Bert, did you plug in can you check that? Oh, great, thank you. Nothing. Yeah, you okay? Sorry. Go ahead.
Testing, 1, 2, testing.
Wow, that's really weird. Okay, sorry about that.
Testing, 1, 2. Test. Testing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop recording and see if it recorded it.
Test. Testing 1, 2.
Yes.
Testing.
Okay, but everything looks okay from the stream, yeah? Okay, super. Thanks, Penny.
Testing 1, 2. Huh? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Testing 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing. Testing 1, 2. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Testing 1, 2. Test. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing. Test. Testing.
Like 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that speaker working there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to pull this podium back a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what else would be great? If you can grab some of the Gorilla tape and just, yeah, just make an anchor point here and pull it taut over there. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that audible? Can people hear me?
Yes.
Very good.
kind of bring a chair down and move it just in case so you don't have.
Sandy,
I don't know if that's.
can I get a picture of the two of you with the table?
Penny, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Great.
we had 13 people in the sober line for everybody. But then we went to the house room and I said, yes, and my wide open. And
Hello. I can hear myself. We're almost ready to get started, but I've been asked to remind you that we have fabulous prizes that you can win in an opportunity drawing. If you'd like to make a donation of $25 or more to this wonderful cause that we're supporting today, at the back table you can buy as many tickets as you would like. So thank you very much. And we'll be starting in just a few minutes. Here. No, not quite. There we are. Okay. Hello again. I'm here not to tell you that we're starting, but surprise, surprise. We're scheduled to get underway at 3:15, but we still have people filtering in. So we're going to give them a few more minutes to get here, and then we'll get underway. In the meantime, if you are holding a program, you'll notice inside there's a QR code. So I mentioned the door prizes a few minutes ago that with a donation of $25 or more, you can qualify. We have a lot of really cool prizes, some of which you can see here, some you can see at the back table. So you can scan that QR code and you can instantly make a contribution to our cause today. So thank you. Thanks for your patience, and we'll get underway in just a few short minutes. Okay, the moment you've been waiting for is about to arrive. So those of you that are in the farther reaches want to make your way down here to where the main event is going to happen. Yes, we have some seating on the sides here. We have benches. So if you don't find a seat, you can, or you can sit on the wall there as well. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ron Marcus. I'm with San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention. And I am thrilled to welcome you to the kickoff of the 2022 national tour of the Honor with Action Tour by Survivors Empowered. Right on cue. Perfect. You're a good audience. This is going to be a great afternoon. First, I'd like to say that I absolutely hate the reason that we're all here. I hate that we all have to know each other this way. But I'm thrilled that we have all gotten to know each other. This is an amazing group, passionate and dedicated people. I want to take a second to tell you about how I got into this movement. We all have a story to tell. I call it the tipping point moment. I call it the moment when I got kicked in the butt out of apathy and into some sort of action. I'd never known anybody that had been a victim of gun violence or a survivor of gun violence. But when I heard the news at 5 o'clock in the evening on my drive home listening to NPR about what was happening in a school, Sandy Hook, I felt the same emotional punch in the stomach that I felt on 9/11. And I went home and I talked to my then brand new girlfriend. It was a long distance relationship. And we'd been dating for 3 weeks and I was crying on the phone. I knew I had to do something. So some friends did some research. We found out that there was a local chapter of the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. And so we went to the first meeting. It turns out that it was being run by one person at that time, Sue Taylor, a lone wolf in the wilderness in San Diego County fighting the good fight. But suddenly she had a whole lot more help. On that morning at that coffee shop in Tierra Santa, Carol Landale, who's our executive director right over here, she was there. I was there. Anybody else here in the audience that was there? I know, there's Kelly in the back. Actually, Kelly was our president for a while, so she was there. So 3 of us go back to January of 2013. As I said, there's many ways that you can get involved in this movement. The one way that I would not want to get involved in this movement is the reason that 5 of the speakers you're going to hear today are in this movement. The worst, most horrific, most unconscionable reason that you would get involved in this movement, that is because a loved one has been ripped out of your arms by gunfire, by weapons of war that are on our streets, that are marketed as if they're toys. This has got to stop. We got some amazingly good news this week that I'm going to just touch on because I know that Lonnie and Sandy are going to talk more about it. But there's this ridiculous law, sorry, my opinion, that was passed in 2005. You'll probably agree with me. The PLCAA. Sounds innocuous enough. The Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. I'm not talking about these kinds of arms. And what this does is it basically shields any gun manufacturer from any kind of civil lawsuit, period. Doesn't matter if a gun was marketed in a way that glorified war. This is basically what's going on here in our country is war. Completely immune. And so, as you'll hear from Lonnie and Sandy, they have a story to tell about that. But the parents of the Sandy Hook kids, the 20, plus those that are family members of the 6 adults that were killed as well, have been fighting a lawsuit with Remington Guns since that time, well, since 2014, actually. That company went bankrupt. It's basically a shell company being funded by insurance companies at the moment. And the insurance companies are trying to figure out how little they could get away with paying for this. Not that money brings back your loved ones, but I'm so happy to report, and I'm sure you saw the news this week, that the Sandy Hook families won $73 million from Remington. Now, that alone is a victory of sorts. It doesn't bring the loved ones back. But this is far more significant than that one victory, because this sends a message loud and clear to other gun manufacturers that we're coming for you. Now, fortunately, this case was tried in Connecticut, where they have an exemption from this shield of immunity if you violate a state law in that state. And in this case, it was a state law about how firearms are marketed. And I'm happy to say that they are trying to now pass the same kind of law here in California, so that if a senseless tragedy occurs, the gun manufacturers can be held to account. That deserves a round of applause. All right. So what I'd like to talk about now is, briefly before I hand this off, first of all, I want to introduce my co-host, Max, with March for Our Lives. So he's going to be saying a few of his own words shortly and introducing 2 of our speakers and some of our prizes, and I get the other half. But one of the things that Sandy and Lonnie are really big on, and they were very encouraging in our community when this idea was being hatched, is of coalitions. So we have national organizations, and they have their way of doing things. They have their agendas. Here in San Diego, in this location, we were finding that we had these different groups. They were doing a lot of the same work. They weren't synergizing, and we said, why shouldn't we all be working together? Let's form a coalition. And we did. You see the results right here, st4gvp.org, 501c4. Our coming out party was exactly 4 years ago, February of 2018. That's right. And wow, what an impact we've had already. Our coalition partners today include Brady, Moms Demand Action, Team Enough, Survivors Empowered, SAFE, which stands for Scrubs Addressing the Firearm Epidemic. This is doctors and nurses. St. Paul's Episcopal Cathedral, United Nations Association of the United States of America, San Diego chapter, that's a mouthful. Lifting Generations, Tariq Charisma Foundation, Claremont Town Council, the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Diego, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Diego. Many thanks to them today for hosting and hosting many of our events in the past. They've been a very strong supporter. Community Rap Initiative, Safat Outreach. We'll be hearing from Bishop Cornelius Bowser in a few minutes. March for Our Lives San Diego, Max once again. And that's it for now. We're welcoming more. So, and now I would like to recognize some very important guests that have come to support us today. They've been supporters for quite some time, and we appreciate it. So if you're here, please stand up or raise your hand, make sure that we see you and can applaud. Francine Busby, you're on behalf of Mike Levin. Mayor of Encinitas, Catherine Blakespear. San Diego City Council District 7 Council Member Raul Campillo. San Diego City Council District 9 Council Member San Ilo Rivera. Here, as he has many times, on behalf of Congressman Scott Peters, Jason Berkovich, and Rick Hopfeld on behalf of Brian Manshine, California State Assembly member. We really appreciate you all being here amongst all of us in solidarity for this cause. And with that, I would like to introduce our first speakers. I can tell you that I've heard them many times. You're going to be blown away. You'll be blown away by their story. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable in a bad way. But it's also incredible in a fantastic way what they have turned tragedy into. And they're part of the reason that we're all here right now. So I don't want to say too much, but they are survivors of gun violence. I really don't need to say much because their story, they're going to say it much better than I could. So let me just bring them up now, if that's okay. Come on up.
Thank you all for being here today. It is always, always humbling when Lonnie and I go to speak anywhere, when people show up. And it's an honor to be here today. And thank you to the dignitaries, the politicians who have shown up today. We need you. And we plan on holding you accountable. Fair warning. Okay. We're all here because we care about gun violence and preventing gun violence. And we want to keep our children and our loved ones safe. Some of us are here because gun violence has touched. No, it hasn't touched us. It's kicked us in the gut. And it's destroyed everything that we've known. This fight should have been over a long, long time ago. After Columbine, after Aurora, after Pulse, after Las Vegas, after Parkland, and certainly after Sandy Hook Elementary School. We who care about the lives of our fellow Americans are David, and the gun lobby is Goliath. We have our pea shooters in this fight, and they have the AR-15s. We have nickels, and they have overflowing war chests. We are a traumatized nation because of a deadly disease. That disease, the culture of guns. We're frustrated it takes so long to change our gun culture in America. When our Jesse was slaughtered 10 years ago, we were in shock, alone, lost, traumatized. Imagine getting the news that your loved one has been murdered. You are in one state and they are in another. What would you need? What would you feel? Where would you turn? What we found was a vast void when we needed someone to help. We needed someone who had gone through this experience. And most of all, we needed a hand to hold that could guide us. There was no one. We had to learn by doing. And 5 months after our shooting, Sandy Hook happened. It was our first of now 18 rapid responses. And seeing the shock on the faces of those family members made me say out loud to Lonnie, that's what we looked like 5 months ago. Just 5 months ago, we looked just like that. And I knew at that moment we could help the newest members of the club that nobody wants to join. We could help them navigate through the gates of hell. I'm going to cover 3 things with you today. First, I'll tell you how we got drafted into this world. Next, I'll share the shocking reality of gun violence and the trauma it creates. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, I'll offer ways that you can make a difference in this cause and support our Honor with Action tour. First, let me tell you about the night our world changed forever. Our precious Jessie was living her dreams in Denver, Colorado. She had moved there from her hometown of San Antonio a year prior, and she was living her life and following her dream of becoming a sports journalist. A friend of hers was visiting from Texas, and they decided to go to the midnight showing of the Batman Theater. I woke up and I texted her and I said, "What are you guys up to?" And she said, "We're at the movies." And I said, "I'll call you tomorrow morning." And she said, "Mom, go back to bed, get some sleep. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. I need my mama." I texted back, I need my baby girl. That was the last time we spoke. 15 minutes later, my phone rang. Her friend was telling me that she was dead. Dead? My baby girl? Dead? And I let out a wail that sounded more like an animal. And my husband appeared from the bedroom as I was crumbling to the floor. We were yanked out of our lives as we knew them into an entire world that we didn't even know existed, the gun violence survivor world. Survivors of gun violence know the pain and the injuries don't stop when the bullets stop flying. Sadly, that is only the beginning. The reality of gun violence in America is so much worse than most people know. After the most unthinkable tragedy, survivors themselves often become targets and are re-traumatized over and over. Scammers set up GoFundMe pages and charities take money on your behalf without ever meaning to turn it over to you. Then there are hoaxers like the Alex Jones folks, the conspiracy theories that tell you that your child never existed and that you are a crisis actor. The media showing the killer's faces again and again and again. And unless the killer is at large, this is just tragedy porn. Gun violence prevention groups aren't innocent either. They fight over their survivors. They talk survivors into filing lawsuits they know they cannot win, and then they break their promises to cover the cost and leave them bankrupt. This is our true story, but others have been duped just as well. These are the external horrors of what survivors suffer. What none of us ever anticipate is what goes inside after the trauma, the nightmares, the startled response, the panic attacks, depression, thoughts of suicide, inability to focus, job loss, alcohol and other drug overuse. These signs of PTSD, untreated, can stay with us the rest of our lives. To this day, the smell of popcorn makes me ill because I know it was the last thing my Jesse ate. The weeks surrounding Mother's Day, Jesse's birthday, all the holidays, and the tragiversary of her murder send me into a grief spiral so profound that I need to withdraw from the world just to make it through. As graduates of the School of Hard Shots, Lonnie and I formed Survivors Empowered. We serve survivors. We provide resources, information, comfort, and support to those plunged into the world we now inhabit. Our mindfulness classes were developed specifically for gun violence survivors to help regulate their PTSD. This program was developed with UCSD right here, and I'm so proud of it. And it's the only one of its kind in the nation. We developed a survivor's toolkit in partnership with Giffords to deliver the kind of help we so desperately needed when Jesse was slaughtered. And we have a podcast starting this month, so survivors can have a place to share their authentic stories and be heard, and some for the very first time. We as Survivors Empowered operate on a shoestring, literally driving our home, a fifth wheel, to the sites of gun tragedies, and to do this 20-state, 22-city tour. This tour will connect us to grassroots organizations across the country where we will meet survivors and expand our audience to others not traditionally viewed as involved with our issue. We need the nation to hear that in the 10 years since the murder of Trayvon Martin, Sandy Hook, and Aurora, close to 400,000 individuals have been killed by bullets. Let me do that math for you. Let's just assume that those 400,000 killed had an average of 4 immediate family members. That's pretty conservative, right? So that means that conservatively, in only 10 years, 1,600,000 immediate family members became gun violence survivors. This does not include extended family or those wounded but not killed. We have met a lot of elected officials. We've heard their thoughts and we've been promised their prayers. But at the federal level, not one iota of gun violence prevention has been passed in over 25 years, not from a Republican, not from a Democrat, and not from an independent. And they must all be held accountable. Thoughts and prayers don't stop bullets. To legislators, we say, think and pray on your own time. Use your time in the seat you hold to protect us innocent Americans. So what can we do? The answer is simple: alone, not much. But together we can be a mighty, peaceful army of Davids, and we can take down Goliath. We cannot let the Goliath of gun violence intimidate us. There are a lot of times when I feel hopeless. But every movement in our history has seemed hopeless when it started. Emancipation, civil rights, women's rights, marriage equality, labor reform. But due to the effort of many, progress has been made, even if there remains more to be done. And there will always be more to be done. Changing America's gun culture and advancing sensible gun laws can seem daunting, but with your support, we can do this. Now you see why our Honor with Action Tour is so important. Each day, our survivor community grows. We need your help. This movement needs your help. Uncle Sam may want you, but Mama Sandy, she needs you. Listen, it really sucks that this cause needs money, but the gun lobby has a ton of it, and it is what we're up against. I implore you to find your way to contribute to this grassroots effort. At some point, we have all said, someone has to do something. Well, we in this room are that someone, and we are doing something. We can't be the thoughts and prayers group. We have to be the get it done team. Together, we can create the opportunity to stop the proliferation of gun violence and to close the Survivors Club to new members. We can protect those we love. We can influence change. Together, we Davids can and will defeat Goliath. Thank you for your time. My husband, Lonnie, has just a few words to say. And I thank you again for being here today and listening to our story and supporting our cause. Thank you.
I just had a few closing remarks. My wife was supposed to give me a minute, but I got about 8 seconds. Often it is your deepest pain that empowers you to grow into your highest self. On the morning of Jesse's murder, we found ourselves withering in deep pain. That morning, we woke into a uniquely American nightmare where senseless gun violence is mourned but accepted as collateral damage of being an American. During those days and weeks that followed Jesse's death, the fog of intense pain slowly lifted, and we were forced to live in the absence of her presence. That was the moment when it became clear to both of us that our new normal was to make sure that Jesse's story was kept alive. We intuitively knew that we would need her legacy to inspire others to join our crusade to honor all victims of gun violence with action. We had come to San Diego to discover that our intuition was correct. If we had not made this trip to San Diego, we would not have made the connection to be interviewed by a local journalist. And we would have missed the opportunity to hear her story. 10 years ago, she was a struggling student of journalism trying to find a break. She was hitting roadblocks everywhere she turned. She was in the depths of despair and had made the decision to go back to making money, making a living, the only way she knew how, with doing hair and makeup. She turned on the television and saw that a young struggling sports journalist was killed in a mass murder in Aurora, Colorado. It affected her so profoundly that she vowed to honor our Jessie and never give up on her dream. Hearing her story 10 years after we made the decision to use Jessie's legacy to inspire others is really what keeps us on the road. And one other thing, I'll do some quick math like my wife did for you. Diesel fuel across this country is averaging $5 a gallon. To fill a 20-gallon tank with diesel costs $100. Our truck gets 5 miles to the gallon when we're pulling our trailer. $100 bill buys 20 gallons times 5 miles per gallon equals 100 miles. $100 equals 100 miles. That's what it costs to fight gun violence. $1 a mile. So far, according to our latest calculations from our home office, we have collected almost $3,000. Already, you guys that are here has given us 3,000 miles to fight gun violence. So thank you very much. We appreciate you all, and we especially appreciate San Diego and the people that are fighting gun violence in this room. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy and Lonnie. It's important to repeat that part of the work that Survivors Empowers does is when there is a tragic shooting anywhere in the country, they go out there and they help those that are dealing with what they had to deal with in 2012. They've been there and they've devoted their lives to assembling the resources and the talent and the experience and the help so that other people know that they're not alone and they can move forward. So thank you. All right, we have a door prize to announce before we get to our next speaker. So the lovely and talented Carol Landale, who is our executive director, is going to be choosing an audience member at random to choose which other audience member is going to be a winner of our first prize, which is a Survivors Empowered t-shirt donated by Stephen Bartram. Sophie Kostov? All right. Congratulations. Oh, we will get you your shirt. In fact, I might just make Stephen do it since he's the one that donated it, and he's wearing one right now. Okay. All right, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce my wonderful co-host, Max Costin with March for Our Lives San Diego, who's going to take it from here.
Hello. So before I get started, I want to talk, as Ron talked about his story, I want to bring up my story. So I, like Ron, am thankful that I nor my immediate family members were not directly impacted by a bullet. But 4 years ago, I was at the Old Globe Theater for a school field trip. It was my freshman year in high school. And we get out of the play. The play was The Importance of Being Earnest, which is a really nice comedy. We get out of the play and turn on our phones, and see headline after headline after headline that there was a shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. That was a shock. Seeing the details of the shooting was a shock. That a person was able to kill and wound so many people, so many young people inside of a school, where schools are supposed to be safe places for students and for anyone. And after that, there's just that shock through you. I remember where I was that day. I will never forget where I was that day. Many months, or about a month later, I attended with my family the March for Our Lives in San Diego. Many of you remember the March for Our Lives. Many of you were at the March for Our Lives, whether in San Diego, in Washington, D.C., or the other hundreds of marches across the country. And about a year later, met Kara Chine and Carol Landale, and the amazing people with Team Enough, got involved with San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention and March for Our Lives, and am here today. Something a lot of people don't realize about our previous speakers, Sandy and Lonnie Phillips, are that we all know they've been through so much, but they always come back and they talk to everyone. They're there for everyone, whether they've gone through a tragic experience of gun violence or not. I met Sandy and Lonnie about 2.25 years ago at the 2019 vigil for survivors of gun violence and to remember those who were lost to gun violence. We had an amazing conversation and we've kept up ever since then. Their group has helped so many young people get involved, helped so many young people cope with seeing gun violence across their communities or experiencing it themselves. And they have done an incredible job really making sure that our next generation, our young people, understand how important gun violence is, and that we are really the generation, thanks to all of your help, that can stop gun violence. So thank you so much. I want to introduce our next speaker, who I'll just say his name. Many of you know him or have heard his name, heard of his incredible work. Bishop Cornelius Bowser. I met him about 1.5 years ago. He does incredible work on the ground with victims of gun violence and survivors of gun violence and other young people who have been affected by gun violence or who live in communities where gun violence is prevalent. He, as a younger person, was involved in gangs, and as he got older, he got out and decided to put his work into his community and to help his community. And something commendable for his work that a lot of people don't do, but he stood up and was there for his community and continues to fight every day to protect the people in his community from gun violence. Bishop Bowser.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Sandy and Lonnie, and all the great work you've been doing. I've been seeing it throughout the years. When we first met, I think we talked on the phone one time and then met in person. And I really appreciate all the great work that we're doing together with San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention. My work started with Moms Demand Action and the Brady Campaign, Walk and Knocks with Carol and with Wendy. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm a pastor at Charity Apostolic Church. I've been pastoring now for 26 years. As a pastor, I'm also program director of Shaphat Outreach and also co-founder of CAS, which stands for Community assistance support team. The reason why I'm involved in this work is because of my own experience of being involved in violence myself. I always looked at myself as a perpetrator. At the age of 12 years old is about the time when I got into a gang. That was back in the 70s, around 74, 75 is when I got involved in the gang. And I got out of the gang when I was 22 and a half years old. And that was in 1984, December the 5th. But in that process of 10 years, I've seen a lot of violence. I've seen a lot of trauma. I've seen a lot of harm. At that time, I didn't even know what trauma was. I didn't know what post-traumatic stress disorder was, how people suffer from that. Myself, being a part of the gang, I most definitely have seen a lot of violence and seen people to get killed right before me. I've had friends that we could be standing on the corner and someone ride by and shoot. I remember one time, I didn't even see the car, I just heard the car, heard the shots. They said, watch out, they get ready to shoot. We all ducked down on the, fell on the ground. I thought I got shot in the leg, but I didn't, kind of felt a sharp pain in my leg. But one of my friends stumbled and blood was dripping from his head and he got shot in the head. Thank God that he did survive that wound, but even today, he still suffers from mental health issues because of the shooting that happened there. And numerous of times that I've been shot at, and some of those times, some of my friends have gotten shot. Other times I've seen folks die. And so when I turned my life around from the gang violence, is one night I was with one of my friends and we were out hanging out, getting high. And he walked down the street to the hamburger restaurant, and he got shot. He got shot in the chest, got shot in the head. And around that time, I was really considering a change in my life. I was reading my Bible, and that was really impacted me and affected me. But I didn't want to give up the streets and my friends that I grew up with, which was also a part of the gang. But when I saw him lie down there on the ground, it really impacted me from the perspective of God dealing with me. And I remember looking at him laying on the ground, and I said to myself, man, that can be you down there. And I remember in my mind, yes, with the trauma and different things we suffer, I wanted to get revenge, but no one wanted that night to get revenge. I came to the park the next day and found out that it was one of our home friends that did it, right? And that what pushed me out of the gang. That's where that day at Memorial Park, I made a decision to leave the gang. From that day, when I got saved in December 1984, on December the 5th, 1984, from that day up for about, I'd say 9 years to 9 years, around 1992, I was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and didn't even know what I was suffering from. It wasn't until I was involved with the union and I was representing a young woman who had been raped, and she got fired from a job because she was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And I didn't know, I never heard of the word before. So I went to the library and looked it up. And when I was looking at all the symptoms, all the things that people suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, I realized that I was suffering from that too. And that's when I started dealing with the trauma that was in my own life and how to respond and be healed from that. And so in 1992, I started a youth program called Let Us Make Man Outreach Services, and it was basically a gang and drug intervention program. But then in 1995, I started pastoring, and so I just merged everything to the church, and I did a lot of work through the church, helping guys and gangs from all the way up to LA and Hoover and Moreno Valley and all the way here to San Diego, all the different gangs here. My wife would tell you we had a lot of folks staying at our house, guys that was in the gang and so on. But I most so was working in a solo for those years, and people kept asking me, you need to get involved in the community more. So around 2006, 2005, I started getting more involved in the community, but a young man that I was mentoring got shot and killed. And that kind of messed me up. So I kind of took a break for about a year and a half, and then I got back involved. And that's when I got involved with Greater Works Empowerment Center and helped them start their gang program. And then right after I left that's when we started CAS, Community Assistance Support Team. CAS, we work on several fronts. What we do as a work is focus on gangs and focus on gang violence, which most of violence is guns, but a lot of it is stabbing too, and sometimes being injured by other type of weapons, but mostly guns, especially when it comes to black gangs. And when you look in San Diego, if you look at the stats today, you'll find that at least 20% of homicides in San Diego are blacks, and where blacks only make up about 6% of the population. And from that, 65 to 67% of those homicides, 20% of those homicides are gang-related homicides. So we see the importance of being involved in, number one, with CAS, getting out front of the violence and engaging the communities, coming up with strategies to empower the community to work together as primary prevention of gun violence in our community. And then we also do what we call core intervention, where when there's a shooting, when something happened, we get out there and try to get this, like being in the moment, but we try to intervene. We get to the crime scene, we go to the hospital. If we're able to get in there, COVID has kind of put a strain on that a little bit, whereas before we were able to just go right into the hospital. You can't do that now. The last individual I went to go see when he got shot, I had to show him my COVID card, but I also had to get on his visitor list. And so that made it a little more challenging and difficult to get to individuals who have been shot. It's so important, especially when it's gang related, to get to these individuals, because many times they're thinking about retaliation. And we want to de-escalate, we want to disrupt the violence, but also we want to be able to offer wraparound support for that individual. So there's individuals that we help. Many times they're suicidal, they have other mental health issues, they're homeless, they need work, and so on. And so what we try to do is connect them to resources to help them, right? And as an individual, that gives us access to them to be able to follow them when they get out of the hospital and make sure that they're still taking care of themselves and not thinking about retaliation. And at the same time, we're disrupting the violence in the communities. We have been working since 2012, building a network in all the different communities among the gangs and the OGs and so on to help us disrupt that violence. So when there are shootings, we're able to reach out to the various communities of those individuals that used to be former gang members like myself, but still connected to the younger guys that are committing the violence. And we're able to many times disrupt it, but sometimes you're not able to disrupt. They don't want to listen. And that's where police come in and the suppression tactics. We try to get on the front end of that and disrupt that so that because our community, we lose either way. So we lose a life, but that individual that committed the homicide, they're probably gone for life, right? And so what I try to focus on is mental health. I have a friend right now, when we were 17 years old, he shot 3 people. He killed one of the guys. They gave him 15 years of life. It's been over 40 years. When we were 17, I'm 59 now, and he's still in prison. And when he got in his early 20s, they discovered that he had some mental health issues and so on. And so we want to address mental health because we know a lot of these young men and women that are out there caught up in this lifestyle are suffering from mental health issues. And then, like myself, we want to address the trauma. And then we also want to come up with strategic and strategies to how we can bring resources into the community, reach these guys with resources to be able to facilitate and help bring change and bring recovery, get treatment for them if that's what they need, so that they can live a healthy and a successful life that's nonviolent. And so we have an event that's coming up. Those of you that are in San Diego, we really love for you to get involved through our No Shots Fired campaign that we have with the city of San Diego. We're going to be doing a Seasons of Peace from March 19th through April 15th. Season of Peace is a time where we talk about and have a discussion about nonviolence. We reach out to the various gangs and ask them during this time, let's just have peace with each other. Let's give each other a pass so we don't resort to that violence and so on. And so it was a pleasure and an honor to speak to you all here today, to share a little bit about myself and a little bit about what I do. And I look forward to us working together to make a difference in the community in stopping this violence, especially in our communities, because what I found is in the Black and Brown community, we're most neglected and need that support there. And most of the time when there's homicides, we just think about people deserving because maybe they were in a gang or involved in drugs and things like that, but these are human beings. That was me once. I was a gang member. I was a drug dealer. I was caught up in the drugs. I was caught up in the violence and so on. But if there was someone like me to reach out to me, it would have made a world of difference back when I was younger. And so that's why I'm doing what I do today, to help make a difference in these young men and young women's lives. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Bowser, so much for speaking. Your story is incredible, inspiring to so many. And something you talked about was the trauma and the PTSD, the experience that just stays with you after experiencing gun violence and experiencing so many other things. I want to bring awareness to Sandy and Lonnie Phillips on their website, survivorsempowered.org. They have a mindfulness class through UCSD that I believe it's free, right? That anyone can go take a look at, and I encourage everyone to go take a look at it, even if you aren't a survivor of gun violence, or if you aren't even in the movement completely, which please go ahead, sign up and join us on the front lines. But please take a look at it. It is very helpful and completely free. So a good resource to have. Another thing I wanted to point out, which many of you guys walking in here today may have seen, is this little thing in front of me. I want to make sure that we do formally thank Manny Oliver, who created this masterpiece, and really touches on and brings up the fear that young people have to deal with every day going to school, that we have to deal with inside classrooms, knowing that someone could walk in, hearing the fire alarm go off. It traumatizes everyone, because we know that is how shootings have been carried out, where the perpetrator pulled the fire alarm and then opened fire when everyone walked outside. And because of gun violence, even simple things such as fire drills have changed. Most schools now during a fire drill have to wait inside until staff secures the campus to make sure there's not an outside threat to students. So we're inside thinking that there could either be a fire or a shooter outside of our classroom. That's just to leave that thought with you. I'm going to pass this back to Ron to introduce the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. And I really appreciate that Max emphasized the younger generation, the ones that are going to be carrying this on after we're all gone. And I also want to recognize that we've got people of all ages here. So we don't need to leave it to just the next generation. We need to do it ourselves too. And we need to share our wisdom and experience that we've learned so we can help that next generation pick up where we are leaving off. But we can't do it without them. So thank you, Max. And like any good young person, he's on his phone. All right, so moving on. He's texting about this event right now. He's posting. Good man. Okay. All right, on a more serious note, I want to paint a little picture for you for a moment as we get ready to introduce the next speaker. I'd like you to imagine for a moment, and this is not going to be easy to do, and it may be very uncomfortable, and I apologize for that. This subject is not comfortable. But I want you to try to imagine for just a moment, if you can, that we're all here, just as we are right now, appreciating this event, and suddenly we hear gunfire. And suddenly someone is on the floor, and they're bleeding, and they're dying. It's a stray bullet. That person on the floor was not an intentional target. Someone else was. But that bullet came into our sanctuary and now one of us is gone. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? This is exactly what happened on Thanksgiving night this past year in 2021 in San Diego. And it was experienced firsthand by the person I'm going to introduce. Maria Gaspar Casillas.
Good afternoon. My name is Angel Domingo Gaspar Gallegos. I'm sad that we meet under these circumstances, but let me tell you what happened and how I got here today. I'm 12 years old, and I just signed up for flag football at Parkway Middle School in La Mesa. I was excited to play and see my family cheering me on at the games. I enjoyed electronics, and video games were my thing, and I was pretty good if you ask myself. On Thanksgiving night 2021, as the rest of my familia played loteria inside, my 9 cousins and I, ranging ages from 5 to 14, were playing outside my tia Chayo's backyard. My cousin Cesar, my younger brother Gabriel, 11 years old, and I were playing video games as all the other little kids were playing around us with balloons. We chatted, we laughed, and we were having a great time. My tia Eva recalls a bang and thought to herself, what did these kids break this time? At the same moment, my younger brother Gabriel, who witnessed the whole thing at only 11 years old, runs past her in a panic, yelling, my brother's bleeding. He's bleeding from a hole. My familia passed and another tia went to assess the situation. When she arrived where I laid, my tío Beto and my tia Eva were rendering aid and on the phone with 911. My tia Eva held pressure on my wound, and my tío Beto kept telling me to fight. Although I was never alone, I was laying there still, not breathing and turning purple. And I wasn't responding to my familia or the paramedics when they arrived minutes later. My tia Chayo went with me in the ambulance, and she calmly but desperately tried reaching my parents as they weren't home. My mother was on her way to work when she received the gut-wrenching news that I was struck by a bullet and to meet me at the hospital. The 30 other members of my familia that were celebrating Thanksgiving with me were being interviewed in our home place on lockdown. When we arrived at UCSD hospital, my tia saw my mom running towards the hospital, and she missed me by seconds. Soon after, we were accompanied by my mother's brothers, and we just sat waiting for an update. The only thing we were all told is he's in the OR. They waited for hours and were struck with the devastating results that I didn't make it. My mom collapsed in the hospital waiting area, and my tios tried to console her, but my mother wasn't doing well. By this time, had been the next morning. It was now my tio's birthday. He's my godfather. The next time my mom saw me was 12 days later. I lay there stiff, still, cold, and in a blue coffin. My familia was getting ready to take me to mass in my final resting place next to my older sister. It's only when making my funeral arrangements that my mom and my familia found out that on Thanksgiving night around 10:07 p.m., I departed this earth. So as my mom was running to the hospital, I was on my way to heaven. Who knew that one stray bullet could change the journey of my entire familia and my community? The bullet that took me from this earth traveled through a wooden part of a fence and struck me in my right upper back. I didn't stand a chance. This area in the back is covered and only one wall is exposed. I mean, prior to us playing video games, my tios were watching boxing fights, and just like miracles happen, this unfortunate tragedy happened to me. Police said the stray bullet could have traveled a mile or more and are focusing on the 700 block of Meadowbrook Drive east of my tia's home. November 27th, there was a candle vigil held at my home where my father found out that the pastor that was holding our prayer service went to high school with him, Pastor Jesus Sandoval. On December 7th, my funeral was held. And once again, my parents were burying another child. On December 8th, Mothers with a Message, along with San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention, police and other community members went door by door passing out flyers in hopes of finding my killer. Even District Attorney Summer Stephan visited my tia's house and met my heartbroken mom. Stephan states that I am everyone's child, and I am because this unfortunate tragedy can happen and the next bullet can land on your doorstep. Last week, my familia, with support of the community and friends, celebrated my 13th and my first heavenly birthday. Today, my familia is still adapting to this new reality. It's hard to see a future through this pain, and we're trying to stop living our future daily. Time is a gift. You choose who you gift it to. Our time is our known. We have an expiration date, but grief does not. I would like everybody to follow my nephew's page. We seek justice for Angel. Angel was all our child. As a community, we can help stop another bullet from landing at anyone's doorstep. As it said, it takes a village to raise a child. Now let's rise together for our children. Thank you very much.
This isn't easy to talk about. Maria, thank you for having the strength. We got to meet Maria and her husband Jose last night. Some of us did. I did for the first time. And Maria told us that she wanted us to hear Angel in his own voice, to get to know Angel. And we thank you, Maria, for having Angel talk to us today. So it's hard to switch from that to door prizes, but I'll try to make a good positive connection. The door prizes are helping us fund the work of Survivors Empowered so we can aid those that have to go through this and also work to stop it from ever happening again. So we're going to talk about the next set of prizes, and the lovely and talented Carol Landale is going to be walking around the audience again. We have a few. The first is 2 bottles of Domain Artifact wine. So, Susan Earhart, congratulations and thank you for your donation. I'm guessing this is the next prize. It's a cookbook with a gift card for Penzeys Spices.
There's another one?
Yeah, here it is. It's by Adina Sussman. It's Sababa. which is actually know this phrase. It's a colloquial phrase that they say in Israel. It means cool. It's like, how's it going? Sababa. Okay. Looks like a really cool book of Israeli recipes. So who's our winner? Stuart? Ah. Thank you for your donation, Stuart. Okay, and the third prize we'll be announcing right now is dinner for two at Park Bistro, which is a terrific French restaurant near Balboa Park. We're gonna have another volunteer picker. Say again, a little louder. Richie. Ah, yay. And thank you, Carol. Thank you for your donation. And even if you don't get a door prize today, thank you for your donation. It means a lot. And that's a prize in its own right. Just feeling good about that.
We want to add a door prize to that list.
Lonnie would like to add a door prize to the list.
We bought a hoodie for Steve, but he's not a hoodie guy. So we
Ah.
want to donate that to the door prize.
A Survivors Empowered hoodie. Okay, why don't we'll let Max introduce that prize at the end of the program. How's that? Okay, very good. And in fact, with that, my time for now is up. So let's bring Max Costume back up.
I will say, I'd say the Survivors Empowered hoodie is the most important prize of all. I made sure to buy one, and those are very comfortable, I will say. So the next speaker, I'm not even gonna try and tell her story, because when you hear the stories of survivors of gun violence, every story is very different, but every story is tragic and terrible in its own way, knowing that the thing that took someone's life, there could have been a way to stop it with further regulations, further laws that people don't take because of money, because of sales. And it's a painful reality to understand that someone's life could have been saved if people in power weren't so greedy. So the next story, the next person, she was a 3-time survivor of gun violence. She lost her husband, and then 10 years later, she lost her twin brother. After that, she was also shot at during a home invasion. She, in 2016, founded an organization called Tween Swag. And if I get this right, please tell me. If I get this wrong, please tell me also. Standing for Together We Elevate Each Other in Our Neighborhood, Simply with a Lot of Grace. Her name is Essie May.
Ooh, the sun. The sun is blinging on me right now. Ooh, just give me a minute. And I might just be facing this way only because the sun is, I could put on my shades. No. All right, I got some smiles. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Sorry we have to be here under these circumstances. I want to thank Ms. Carol for reaching out on behalf of the family that's having this event. You know, it takes a village and a strong village. I first want to say that I am mental illness. And there's no look or no picture of mental illness, right? And so no one would expect to hear that myself or Maria or Bishop Bowser or Miss Sandy or anyone that been through what we've been through. But we have to speak out for the voiceless. As it was shared that I am a 3-time survivor of gun violence, born and raised in Southeast San Diego. About 3rd generation, my kids is 4th generation. August 19th, 2006, took a coworker out, surprised her for her birthday, me and her family. She never had a surprise birthday party before, so we surprised her. Coming home that night, me and my husband and a couple of my family members got home and parked. One of my cousins went home. The other one needed to rush to use the restroom, so she went in our home to go to the restroom. As she was in the restroom, me and my husband was walking from the car, coming into our apartment. And we walked in, closed the screen door, and I gave him a kiss. He walked over to the radio, and I walked into the room. And I just took off what I had on real quick, looked at the bathroom, and my cousin was still in the bathroom, so I stepped back out real quick, asked him did he like what I had on, which was like a little nighty, you know, so looking to see if my cousin's gonna hurry up and come out the bathroom, you know, so she can go. And so this is my mindset. I stepped out, he said yes, and he was walking towards the kitchen as I asked him did he like what I had on, and he said yes. So I stepped 2 steps back into the room. As I bent down, I heard a loud bang. It sounded like a car backfiring. So this was about 2:30, 2:40 in the morning. So I immediately looked towards our window, thinking it was coming from the parking lot. You know, I couldn't see out the window because it was closed, but as I looked up, thinking that was a car backfiring, I stepped back out to ask my husband, did he hear that noise? And as I stepped back out, there was a young man standing in my doorway facing me with his hand up like this. We locked eyes and he fired. So when he fired, that's when I realized it was a gunshot. So that's when I jumped, and I jumped back into where I just came from, my room, and dove on the bed on my back. My cousin was still in the bathroom, right? So I'm thinking I'm dreaming at this point. Then I'm thinking this young black male, light-skinned, I can describe him to a T, never seen him a day in my life. I say I was stupid as I share my story throughout the years, because as a movie, that's what you think you're in, right? I step back out. I get off the bed. I pray to God I get off the bed because I'm still thinking it's a dream zone. And my screen door is open at this point. The wooden door was already open. And I'm looking for my husband. So I go straight to the door thinking he's outside smoking a cigarette. This is where my mind is at. As I step out of the door, I look in the front, I don't see him, but as I step back in, I see him laying on the kitchen floor with his feet on the inside of the kitchen floor and his head facing towards the living room. I immediately run to the entertainment center and grab the phone, and I dropped to my knees and I said, baby, just please hold on, just please hold on. And I just flipped. I remember reading on the website, Miss Sandy, of the noise that you said that you made like a wounded animal. There's nothing, you can't even act that sound out, how hurt and how devastating that pain. You don't even know where it comes from. And so that's where I was at that point. Meanwhile, my cousin was coming out the bathroom slowly but surely, because she realized that both of those shots was gunshots. I didn't know that. Um, by that time, all I can remember is being dragged off of my husband, full of blood, onto the living room floor, hearing we have to sedate him, get her off of him. I remember being straddled and then putting sweats on me. I don't know how I got outside, but I ended up outside in front of our doorstep. Mind you, this is 2:43 something in the morning, so it's still dark outside. Family members are rushing in, of course, and I'm left there on my knees. Nobody's telling me anything. I'm asking as people coming up, is he okay? Is my husband okay? And like everyone's looking at me right now, that's all I kept saying. Speaking through their eyes was no. So I start banging my head on the concrete because at this point I'm dreaming. This is not my reality. My husband is originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. We met in TJ. He asked me to dance. I told him the next dance, and I was trying to ditch him. That was 11 years prior, right? And so, but long story short, together 11 years, 2 lovely kids, and married for 3. Our kids at that time, our daughter was 7.5, daddy's girl, and our son was 1.5 years. All I can think of is how I'm gonna tell my daughter that can somewhat understand what's going on and not have family members or someone come tell her. And then our son, how am I gonna raise a young Black male to let him know what happened to his dad by no fault of his own, to be positive and productive in his community, as well as my daughter. So them were some of the challenges in my mind at that particular time, as well as why would someone come in my home and do what they done? It'll be 16 years, August 19th this year. It's still an open case. They have not found the young man. I mean, he's probably in his 30s now, looked to be 13, 14, that I can remember. At the time, of course, I won't say interrogated, but it eventually became an interrogation as I went downtown to answer questions and to get a drawing of the person that was standing in the doorway that shot at me and shot my husband. Meanwhile, I didn't know my husband was dead. They wasn't telling me anything. I was still led out of one apartment, which was my apartment, to another apartment, and then I was set in the playground area. As I'm sitting in the playground area with my mom, and I don't know who else was on the side of me at that point, I was just getting asked to sign paperwork, and we'll give you a list of everything we take out the home. 16 years later, I still don't have that list. 16 years later, they had my ID, my check, my bank card. I was told that I needed to go to the DMV to get that. I don't know how long I sat out at the playground, August 19, 2006, that early morning. But I do know that the only way I found out my husband was gone was that there was 2 guys in white with a stretcher pulling the body across the playground. Nobody stopped to tell me anything. I jumped up and yelled. I don't know if I said bye to his head or his feet. And then I lost it. Meanwhile, I have 2 young kids looking up at me that I don't know what I'm going to do. Meanwhile, I don't know why they came into my home. And I say they, but there was one guy, and I'm pretty sure other people know who he is, but I don't. Now I have to relocate, and I'm told to relocate out of my community. I'm 29, became a widow, and someone came into my home as a home invasion, and they took my husband's life and tried to kill me. I have a twin brother that stepped up as that male Black role model in my son's life, as well as my daughter, and as well as myself, because media was coming in, at that time, and I'm supposed to be dead. And I wasn't watching the news, but as I seen the news clippings and things, it was like husband died through home invasion, wife got shot at, she's still alive. So what does that say in the community? If somebody's coming after you, you don't know why, they may be still out there. So my twin stepped up. He taught my son how to fish. He's there for my daughter. March 9th, 2016, I got a phone call coming from Cuyahoga College saying that my twin had possibly been shot in the head through a drive-by shooting. I pull up on the scene, all I see is lights and yellow tape. I'm asking for help from the officers. I'm his twin sister. I'm getting calls that he possibly had been shot. It's just silence. They're looking at you like you're not part of the community. They're looking at you like, who are you? But you're trying to see if that's your family member. All I see is my mom's eyes and she's crying. And she said they won't tell her anything. My sister, she just lost it. She was just gone, you know. And so once again, I have to step up and figure this out. Now that my kids are 10 and 16 now, right? Going on 17. We get rushed off to the hospital. They say he's there. I'm getting calls from the streets that my twin brother's body is still on the scene. The hospital is not telling us anything. My mom is behind me, asking me what is being said. I'm telling her that he's possibly here at the hospital. In one ear and the other ear, I'm getting told he got shot in the head and his body is still laying in the street where we just left. Meanwhile, we get called in. I don't know how long that took, but they called us in and told us that he didn't make it. And my mom looked at me and said I had to handle it. So this is how I'm handling it. My twin was shot by 2 males and 2 females. Gang violence from the other side of town. My twin was not in no gang. We just happened to live on the other side of town. Like I said, my husband and myself, we weren't in gangs either. Someone just happened to want to come in our home and try to kill us. So I had to take a stand for my kids because that's our next generation. And I believe someone was up here talking about that. You know, we have to be able to pass the torch, but also live by that code. Recycling your pain. There was no organizations like this here 16 years ago. There was no organizations out there that come into your home and help you and guide you through the burial part or the resources 16 years ago. So I had to step up and figure it out on my own. And it was not easy. But it was bigger than me at this point because of my kids. From my kids to my community. So I couldn't leave my community and leave my kids stuck. I was lost. I was surely lost. Every day I live through this. I know every day all of the families live through the tragedy. They did find the 4 people that killed my twin, and we had an 8-week trial. That's not normal. But this is our new normal. I believe you said that when you got up here and talked. And through our new normal, we have to be that change we want to see and be in our communities and beyond. So I say they left me standing, but they left us standing. And so as we come together, such as events like this and platforms come together, share our hurt and our pain and recycle it into something positive, that's on a daily basis. And continue to give those proper tools to move forward because hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. That's your first thought. But today, hurt people is healing people. That's what that is today. We are here, we're hurt, we're angry, we're upset, but love is gonna conquer over everything, right? We're gonna stand together, we're gonna move forward, we're gonna continue to speak on our loved ones because they live through us now. We're not gonna let the evil and the hate take over our loved ones. Now they're gonna have to deal with that higher power, right? Because we know we're gonna have to too. So if we choose to go out there and do what they done to us, that means they're controlling us. Not today, not that day, not any other day. We control our destiny, correct? All right, I want to make sure we on the same page. I just want to say, I just want to thank you for having this. Thank you for inviting us out here. We are still fighting a fight. I just left a family today that just lost a loved one through gun violence that happened to be a close family member. And so we're helping as a community to go out there with the families and help with the step-by-step burial because they're in shock right now. We understand that. We understand what it looked like, what the steps are, and everybody's in their different stages of grievance, right? I didn't know what grievance was. I didn't know it was different stages until I reached out to get help, to talk to someone. But guess what? It was only a 9 to 5 thing. So now, Twin Swag, that's the name of my organization. I go out and speak to the youth, and it stands for Together. That's all of us. We, there's no I in team. We elevate because we're doing nothing but going up, right? Each other in our neighborhoods. And then swag. We don't look like what we go through. We're going to swag it out simply with a lot of grace because nothing but God got us here today and together. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity. I have a short poem that I wrote, and I'll get out your hair. It's on my phone. And my poem is called My Right Eye Cries. I was writing this poem in court as I'm going through the trial of my twins' murder. And my right eye kept crying. But my left eye was like, I'm watching this, I'm writing stuff down. But my right eye kept tripping. I don't know what's going on with this right eye. So I had to write about it. So my right eye cries. My right eye cries. Well, my left eye stayed dry. My mind is overwhelmed, but my heart still pounds. My breaths are heavy when the air seems thin, but yet and still win, W-I-N-D. As I see with my ears and hear with my eyes, I know God has an unbelievable prize. That's why my right eye cries. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Essie. So we're getting ready to go on to a bunch of drawings and start to close things off for the official program. But before we do that, I'm curious, and this is those who are comfortable sharing this. Please stand up if you, a loved one, a close friend, a close family member has been affected by gun violence. Not just killed, but injured, or had a gun put in your face, or had any other. Raise your hand, stand up. Now, take a look at each other and just acknowledge each other and realize none of you are alone in this. You have family, you have people to go to, people who don't 100% understand your pain, but who are there for you. The people I want, in addition to stand up, are those who work on the ground every day, who make communities better, who make communities safer, and who work to deter violence in their communities. And I'm looking at you, Bishop Bowser and Essie. And then those who are part of gun violence prevention organizations, San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention, the Brady Campaign, Survivors Empowered, March for Our Lives, so many different organizations. I just want to acknowledge all of the incredible people in this fight, and we're all in this fight together. I think it was Sandy who said this and Ron said this, but we all came together, and it's amazing. Under tragic circumstances, we all came together, but we made the best of it. We are a family all together and work together every day to make sure that this doesn't happen to any more people. And this is, in general, a plea to those in power who have the authority, who have the power to do something. There's no, it's not the right time, or, oh, we don't have the votes. You can still do something. You can still use your voice, use your platform, use your position, your power to make some noise and tell people that enough is enough. We have to change this. And we can't keep living like this every single day. And with that said, thank you for everyone for being here. I want to bring Ron back up to say a few words before we go on to the final drawings. Not final, okay.
Thank you, Max. So we're going to extend till 5:30. So you still have a chance. If you want to get a chance at the door prize, you can donate right now. You have your programs. Just get that QR code out and scan it if you want a chance at a prize. And even if you don't get a prize, the prize is you're helping this amazing cause that we've been wowed by today. Am I right? Okay. I also want to thank the news crews who came out here today, and we're going to arrange for you to talk with some folks very shortly here. So thank you for your patience, and we really appreciate you being here to cover this very important event in our community. And with that, Max will take us out with some door prizes, and we'll then have some more refreshment and stick around. And also one more thing. One of my favorite expressions is many hands make light work. There's a lot of hands here. So if you would like to donate your hands for 2 minutes to pick up a chair or help clean something up, we'll have this place cleaned out in 5 minutes. It would be awesome. Thank you for your help. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Okay, so let me figure out, there's so many things that we're giving away today. So we have a framed photo by Steve Kusley, who is Sandy's husband. Did I say your last name right? Housley. Okay, thank you. And this photo was actually taken in Italy and framed on the back table. Can someone lift that up and... Lake Elsinore, no.
It's going to Christy Becker. Christy Becker still here?
Uh-oh.
No Christy Becker? You gotta be here to get the prize.
Going once.
Christy Becker.
Going twice.
Christy Becker, I think she's no longer here. So, we're gonna do another one. Yeah. Is that that? Okay, so the next one is Linda Gernan Myerson. Who's Linda Myerson? Oh, yeah. I'm just gonna pull these out.
Yeah.
How many more are there?
Jimbos. And Then final prize drawings. I think Jimbo's. Where's the other list? Jimbo's and where are the other four? I don't see them on the list.
Go ahead, do the gym.
Okay. Jane, would you like to pull one? And well, before we go on, before someone calls out the name, Jane, you've done so much to make sure that this event happens and planning it and everything. So.
It looks like Kevin McGill. Kevin McGill.
Right here.
All right. What is it? What's the prize?
This is the Jimbo's basket. Jimbo's basket personal care items plus gift card. Okay. So around 5:30, we're gonna have four more drawings. So take out your phone, scan the QR code, and donate if you can. There's all of these tables right there. Go and check out information. And there's tons of food left, so please line up for that as well. And thank you so much for being here, and we'll come back around 5:30. Go talk and mingle, and yeah.